I never thought a simple school project could be the thing that completely unraveled my marriage, my family, and everything I thought I'd managed to bury away. But here I am, sitting in an apartment I never wanted, writing out the story of how one assignment destroyed my life. My daughter Emma is 15. She's bright, funny, full of life, and she's been doing so well in school. When her biology teacher assigned them a fun family genetics project, I didn't think much of it. The students were supposed to use one of those mail-in DNA kits to explore ancestry, traits, and family connections. It was meant to be engaging, interactive, something parents could bond with their kids over. Other moms I knew had laughed about the silly traits it revealed: hair curl patterns, caffeine tolerance, random things like that. I expected the same, nothing more. When Emma brought home the kit, she was excited. She asked me and my husband, Mark, to spit into the tubes with her so she could compare traits. I remember feeling a pang in my stomach when she handed me the little vial. I swallowed it down quickly, put on a smile, and said, "Of course, sweetie." Mark didn't even hesitate. He thought it was fun, a family activity, and joked about what weird quirks Emma might have inherited from him. But deep down, I was terrified. Because 15 years ago, I made a mistake. Mark and I were young when we got married. He was steady, reliable, loving. He wasn't the most exciting man in the world, but he adored me and wanted to build a future together. At the time, I thought I wanted the same thing. But shortly after our wedding, while things felt too calm and routine, I ended up in an affair. It was short, stupid, fueled by insecurity and selfishness. I told myself it didn't mean anything. I told myself I still loved Mark, that he would never find out, that it was just a moment of weakness. Then I found out I was pregnant. The timelines blurred. I knew there was a chance the baby wasn't Mark's, but I couldn't face the truth. I couldn't bring myself to admit what I'd done, so I buried it. I convinced myself Emma was Mark's, that it was all in my head, that no one needed to know. I poured myself into being a good wife, a good mother. I thought if I worked hard enough at being the woman Mark believed I was, maybe the lie would never surface. For 15 years, it worked, until the day Emma got her DNA results. She was so excited, bouncing into the living room with her laptop open, showing us colorful charts and graphs. "Look, this says I've got 50% this and 50% that. Wait, that doesn't make sense." She frowned, clicking through the report. I felt the blood drain from my face. Mark leaned over, curious. "What do you mean, kiddo?" Emma turned the screen toward us. "It says here that you're not a match for my dad. Like, biologically. It says you and I aren't related." I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded in my chest, my throat tightened. I glanced at Mark. He was frozen, staring at the screen with this unreadable expression. My mind raced, searching for excuses, explanations, anything. "Oh, honey, those tests aren't always accurate." I blurted out too quickly. "They make mistakes all the time." But Emma, smart and sharp as she is, didn't buy it. She looked between us, confusion all over her face. "But Mom, it says it right here. Dad and I don't share DNA." And then came the moment I'll never forget. Mark didn't look shocked. He didn't argue. He didn't even question it. He just sighed, leaned back in his chair, and said quietly, "I've known." The world tilted under me. My ears rang. Emma's eyes went wide. "What do you mean you've known?" she asked him, her voice cracking. Mark's eyes flicked to me, full of hurt but strangely calm. "I've always had doubts," he said softly. "The timing. The way things didn't quite line up. I suspected for years. I just didn't want to believe it. And then, when Emma was born, I convinced myself it didn't matter. I loved her. She was my daughter, no matter what. But I've always known, deep down. I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat. Emma turned to me, tears filling her eyes. Mom, what is he talking about? And I broke. I confessed right there, my voice trembling, the words spilling out between sobs. I told her I had made a mistake before she was born, that I had been unfaithful, that I didn't know for certain who her biological father was. The look on her face, betrayal, pain, devastation, it's burned into my memory. She ran upstairs, slamming her door, leaving me alone with Mark in the wreckage. I expected him to yell, to rage, to finally let out all the anger I knew he must have been holding on to for years. But he didn't. He just looked at me with this quiet resignation. I stayed. He said flatly. I stayed for her. I stayed because I loved you. But now she knows and I don't have to pretend anymore. I begged him. I fell to my knees, clutching his hands, sobbing. Please, Mark, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can get through this. But he shook his head. No, you had 15 years to tell me the truth. 15 years to come clean, and you didn't. You let me raise a child under a lie. You let me carry that doubt in silence. You let me live a life that wasn't real. His voice broke on the last word. I can't do it anymore. Within weeks, he filed for divorce. He didn't fight me on custody of Emma. In fact, he told me he wasn't going to take her away from me. She's old enough to choose who she wants to be with, he said. But what gutted me more was how Emma looked at me. The trust in her eyes was gone, replaced by this cold distance. She started spending more and more time with Mark, barely speaking to me unless she had to. The divorce went through quickly. Mark was efficient, almost detached. And then he was gone, moving into a new place, building a new life. I'd hear through mutual friends that he seemed happier, lighter, like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He even started dating again, something I hadn't expected so soon. But apparently, women were drawn to him. A man who had weathered betrayal and come out stronger, more confident. Meanwhile, my life crumbled. Emma pulled away more and more, choosing to live with Mark most of the time. When she did stay with me, it was tense, awkward, full of silence. I could see the disappointment etched into her every expression. I wasn't just the woman who betrayed her father. I was the mother who had lied to her too. I thought the worst part would be losing Mark, but it wasn't. The worst part was losing the image of myself I had worked so hard to protect. I wanted to believe I was a good wife, a good mother, someone who had made one mistake but moved past it. But the truth caught up with me. It always does. Now, I sit here alone, scrolling through social media, seeing pictures of Mark and Emma smiling together, laughing, moving forward. And I realize that while my world ended, theirs began again without me. And I deserve it. Because no matter how much I tell myself I loved them, no matter how much I believed I was protecting them, the truth is I built everything on a lie. And lies always collapse.